It is early May, the first week of May, and we are getting ready to plant our potatoes. We're cutting them in halves or thirds or fourths, making sure there's an eye or a sprout on each part. We like to wait until early May to plant our potatoes because the soil is warmer, and this means the potatoes sprout sooner. And there's less chance of them rotting in the ground while they sit and wait to sprout. It's now early June. It's about 3 weeks since planting, and my potatoes have sprouted beautifully, and the weeds have too. So the first thing we need to do before we can start hilling the potatoes is to take care of all the weeds. My little stirrup hoe is my favorite tool in the garden for the past couple years. It just cuts the weeds off right at the surface. Sometimes we have some potato bugs. Usually I'll see the damage on the leaves, and that'll clue me in that there's potato bugs to be picked. I pay the kids a penny for each bug or leaf with eggs that they pick off of my potatoes. Usually we only have to do this for a week or two, and then we don't have any more problems with them, especially if we've been consistent with picking off all the eggs and not letting any of them hatch into the larva stage. It's a tedious job, but somebody needs to do it, and it really doesn't take more than a couple weeks of consistent searching to be able to get ahead of them. And I'm always happy to have a chore that the little boys can manage on their own.
I have 17 summers and hadassels. I started with 5.
Okay, in her cup. After I've taken care of all the weeds that are on the potato row, I will run my rototiller in between the rows. This gets rid of any weeds that are in between the rows and also loosens up the soil to prepare for hilling the potatoes. Now I'm ready to start hilling the potatoes. So I take my garden rake and I grab as much of that loose soil that's lying between the rows. I grab as much as I can and I pull it up over the bottom leaves of those potatoes. And you can tell why it's a good idea to hill them while they are still fairly small, because it's easy to just throw the dirt with your rake over those bottom leaves. Now, any time that you cover those bottom leaves of the potato with anything, it's going to stimulate the potato to grow, because it gets the message that it needs to hurry up, send out more foliage. And when the potato is stimulated to grow, it sends out more roots. And with potatoes, more roots means more potatoes. So it's been about a week since we've hilled the potatoes, and they've really grown out of their hills. So now we are piling straw on, since we don't have any more dirt left that's loose enough to hoe up over the leaves. So this will be the final step, and then the potatoes will be good until harvest. So basically you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna take these bottom leaves and just cover them up with straw. You're gonna leave just the tops showing. And that, anytime you cover up the bottom leaves, that stimulates the potatoes to grow some more. And any kind of stimulation is going to cause them to send down more roots, And more roots equals more potatoes.
Mommy, just grab some. Yeah.
So it's like pulling up the covers to cover those big leaves. And you gotta put it thick enough so that the potato thinks it's soil. Thick enough so that no light shines through. That way the potato thinks it's soil and it'll turn those leaves into potatoes. So it's been about 10 days since we last put the straw on. You can see how the potatoes have just pushed right up out of there. And we're not going to do any more hilling this year for the potatoes because of something that I saw that tells me it's time to stop hilling. Right here, these are potato blossoms. And potatoes are determinate plants, which means that they will stop growing when they start blooming because they'll put all their energy into forming fruit. The fruit is their potatoes, which are under the ground, and the plan is that we've hilled them enough and covered those bottom leaves enough that we stimulated a lot of growing, and that they have a huge root system in that there's going to be a lot of potatoes under there when we dig them up. So if your potatoes are blooming, it's time to stop hilling and covering those bottom leaves up with compost or whatever that you're using. So we've been using this method for a couple years now, and last year we turned about 25 pounds of seed potatoes into about 275 pounds of eating potatoes.